Welcome back, everyone, to the channel. I'll check the sound on my end, wait for you guys to come on in. Welcome in. Okay, all right, cool. While I'm waiting for some of you guys to come in, let me go ahead and just prepare what we will be taking a look at today. We are going to be talking about this lady's NDE that exposes that we live in pods off planet, and this is the 13th version of Earth. I think that's how she puts it. We're going to go ahead and explore this, and it's interesting that this actually answers some of the questions that we were talking about last night in regards to who is source, right? And so we're gonna put the pieces together. Welcome in, everyone. So since Miss Gail, hi, Sister Gail, Sister Natalie, since you guys are the first ones here, I'm going to test the audio out on the video we will be sharing just to see if I need to make it louder. So you can tell me if the audio sounds good. Okay, 1 second. All right, all right. Okay, I'm gonna check that on my end too. Let me know how that sounds, everyone. Let me know how that sounds. Okay. Can you hear that okay? You don't hear it. Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to fix that for us now. All right. I'm going to fix that. Now I'm going to test this again. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, welcome in. All right. Okay. Let's see. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Now we're about to test this audio one more again. Let's test it out one more again. Can you guys hear that now? You can hear it? It's loud and clear? No sound for you, Randy? Can someone just confirm? No? I hear it perfectly.
Can you guys hear that?
I could hear it. Hold on. Okay. Thank you guys. Here's what I'm gonna do. That means I gotta unplug my headphones too. Here we go. Now it should be good. We should be good now. One more again. One more again. All right. Now let me know if you can hear this one. What?
Down all my organs, and I was having a heart attack. And so I was laying in bed with my husband. I was laying on my side, and I felt my whole body seize up. And it started at the heart, and then it went through the rest of my body, very much like a lightning bolt or an electric pulse all of a sudden. And it didn't hurt. It just...
Okay, it should be good now. It's kind of loud. Yeah. All right. So I think we got that. Yes, you got it. Okay. Put a 1 in the chat now if you can hear me. Thank you guys for helping me troubleshoot this. It should be good now. So 1 in the chat here if you can hear it now. So I'm going to go ahead and explain to you guys what we are about to watch, okay? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear it, okay? 1 in the chat if you can hear it. Okay. 1. Okay, cool. All right, perfect. Thank you so much, guys. First and foremost, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Tahirah, Mother of the Ages. I am a supernatural quantum telepathic healer, guys, creator of the quantum telepathic healing modalities, clinical hypnotherapist by trade. I specialize in past life regression therapy and quantum readings, guys. If you like to book a session, there'll be some links down below. You can take advantage of the March special that is ending today for the quantum hypnosis session with entity attachment removal, guys. And let me just go ahead and say shout out to everyone in my class, the Quantum Telepathic Healing and Psychic Development course. You guys are all psychic. You guys are doing beautifully. It's only week 3. It's kind of scary how good you guys are doing. And I'm just like curious to see how it's going to be at the end. So shout out to you guys. You guys are doing fantastic. Okay, guys, let's get ready to rumble. Let's get into this because, it's very interesting. We were talking about Sophia yesterday. We're talking about, who is source. Everyone a little bit confused about that. Very interesting. Shout out to Jeff here. This is from the Jeff Moore podcast. And this showed up in my timeline. And I truly don't have time to watch full videos. But this one, I watched the full one. And source said, it's because I need you to bring this here. So some of the stuff she's saying, I'm not sure about. But I will get a channel and we will just cross-reference this, but overall I love the perspective. I love her NDE, and it's very interesting because it kind of is in alignment with a lot of the things that I've been saying to you guys here. And so we're going to take a listen to this. And remember, I was always telling you guys, there's a part of yourself that is always whole. It's the oversoul. It's just overseeing this whole operation. This woman is saying she had an NDE, and it turns out that we are all in pods off planet. We're not even here. So remember when I tell you that these creepy crawly ghosts and goblins ain't here, meaning the people that we think like all of these like lesser gods and different deities and entity attachments, they're broadcasting their frequency from a lower dimension. Remember when I was saying that? Now it's obvious, right? Polarity. So we are broadcasting our source frequency from another dimension. And then now this becomes, a simulation, not because necessarily you may be stuck in the simulation. She does actually talk about what we were talking about yesterday, the archons. And Natalie, she answers the question, how to escape the reincarnation soul trap. And it's a lot like what I said yesterday. So it's very interesting. This should be, full of knowledge, and put any comments you have in the comment section, and we will break this thing down together, guys. Awesome. Hello, everyone. When you come in, like the video, and please do subscribe to this vibration. So without further ado, here is the past life. It's not a past life. Goodness, it is the NDE, right? Give me 1 second and then I'll bring that up here. Just got to take care of a few things to make sure people can find this video. Come on in, shout out your mood, your vibe, how you feeling, how you doing in the chat. And I hope that we're all doing well, because apparently, girl, we are broadcasting our signal here from inside of a pod, which makes a lot of sense, because I think I spoke about the pods a long time ago. And remember, the people that are passing away right now, where does Source say they're going? They're going somewhere off planet. That was the channel a few days ago. Now it kind of makes a lot of sense. Now it's bringing back into the field of awareness where perhaps our oversoul is. The part of us that is just observing this experience. So in that regards, nothing can truly hurt you. Yeah. That's kind of the way I see it. All right, let's get into this, everyone. I'm going to play this for us. If at any point the sound gets wonky, someone please let me know in the comment section, but it should be good. Okay, here we go. Let's take a listen. We are all in pods. Women's near-death experience changes everything, from Jeff Mora podcast.
NDE happened because I was experiencing alcoholism to the degree that I was slowing down all my organs, and I was having a heart attack. And so I was laying in bed with my husband. I was laying on my side, and I felt my whole body seize up. And it started at the heart, and then it went through the rest of my body, very much like a lightning bolt or an electric pulse all of a sudden. And it didn't hurt, it just was strong. And the next thing I know, I was being pulled from my body, and I was being pulled from my wings. So it's like if you were wearing a backpack and someone was saying, okay, this way, little one. I was being pulled this way, and I was being pulled up. And what I saw was it felt like I was about 40 feet above my bed. I was looking at myself and my husband, and I was looking through a control room. And there were other humans there, and there were computers. This was like a control room, and they could see my body, my husband's body, and then the rest of the control room, it had no ceiling. It was an enormous, infinite place full of other humans, and they all had their job to do. But when they noticed that I was there, they noticed, and their expression was, oh, she's here. Oh, she's here. And then they made a phone call. I waited there for a moment, and another human came in, a man, and he gave me a tour. He said, we know we've been expecting you. We didn't know when, but we're here to show you what this place is. This is Soul Earth Exile 13. Don't touch anything. We're just going to show you these different levels. Okay. So the first level I was shown was this level where they didn't show me what any of these levels were called, but I'll call it the control room. And as I was looking around, all of these people were at these control boards, and they were looking at different parts of the world. I saw people sleeping. I saw people at their jobs. I saw different parts of the country. This was all Earth. There were people simply watching, typing things. They were talking to each other. I will also tell you that when we moved into the house where I'm moving now, which was after this NDE, the first night we moved here, I heard someone say, the family is now asleep. And I heard that same voice when I was in this NDE. And it was the woman that was overseeing the computer at our house. So I had this fade in of that control room. I could hear them talking about our family. So I was not allowed to talk to her, but these people could see me, and they were not alarmed to see me. It's like I was just there on a tour. So we went through these big doors, and there was this elevator, and we got on the elevator, and it seemed to go down forever. And when we finally stopped, we went to this level where there were a bunch of people coming in that seemed like they were there for the first time. They were confused. Some of them were scared, and they were talking to each other about where they were from. One person was from Denver. One person was from Japan. And they were all trying to talk to each other. No one knew what was going on. Then they were told to stand in a line. A door opened. They walked through the door. I was able to follow with this tour guide and stood at the back of the wall and watched what happened. And these people were simply told, you'll be able to ask questions later. You are safe. Be with us. Just follow along for now. And the thing that was talking to them looked like a human, but it was a humanoid. It was this AI being. And these people naturally were saying, where are we? What is this? I was asleep and I woke up here. So it was clear that all of these people, this wasn't an NDE for them. They had been asleep and they thought that they were dreaming. And they said, you are not dreaming. Your body is asleep, but you are here. So I was able to follow these people through their journey. And that's why I was there. I was observing. So I followed these people. They went to the next level and they were shown that they were going to go through a certain cycle of now being on this planet that they were calling, or this, actually, Jeff, I don't know if it's a planet or a dimension. I don't really know. I'm hearing from Gabriel Planet, Soul Earth Exile 13. And they went into this next room where they were given this kind of, what do you call it when you have your first job? Orientation. And they said, you will be here and you will, for as long as it takes, you will be trained to be.
I know she's calling this a planet. I'm getting dimension. You guys know, like, often when you stop yourself and you have to like kind of question, right, what she already said, she's feeling a strong pull to say dimension, but that's what I'm getting, and I think I know where she is. We'll talk about it in a moment.
In this space and work here for a designated amount of time. This is not a punishment. And these people just went nuts for a second. And then one man in the room said to everybody else, he was a peer, he was there with them, he said, I've been here before, don't freak out. If you freak out, they're going to take you from the room. And he said, just trust me. So everybody kind of calmed down a little bit. A woman was asking, how long will we be here? And the humanoid that was guiding them said, I cannot tell you that, just be here with me now and you can ask questions later. So some time passed. The next thing I remember was that these people were in another room. They had different clothes on now, and they had been given an assignment. And their assignment was to see where they were living. They were living in this kind of apartment complex, but it was very barren. They had places to sleep where their place to sleep was just kind of metal. They had a comfortable bed on there, but it was just metal. They had a sink, they had a toilet, they had windows. It was separated men and women. And then the work that they did was actually not work at all. They went to these kind of classes where they would be asked questions about their life. What did they remember about their life? And then if they passed these questions, they would go on to a next level. And then the next level, if they didn't pass, they would go back to the beginning. They would go back to that first room. They would be asked those questions, go through the orientation again. They would start the process over. But if they kept passing, they would go up these levels. Just like in the elevator, when I went way down, they would go up these levels. Their clothing would change. Their residence would change. It would become more comfortable each time. And they would start to have different experiences. Like they could go outside. Their food would change, and all the food there was delicious. It was like fresh food, organic. And you didn't need to eat that much to be full. And outside, it looked like, not to be religious here, but it looked like the Garden of Eden, if you would imagine it in your mind. And then...
Hold on, guys. We spoke about the Garden of Eden yesterday. We were talking about that something ain't on the up and up about this, although, you know, I like this woman. I like everything she has to say, especially afterwards. She gets it. She definitely gets it. But I don't like the fact that you had to recall the lives you've had. Does that sound familiar? Like that life review that you get, that the archons give to you, and then if you don't remember, you go back down to that level. I don't like that part. That's not, source wouldn't do that. This sounds like some sort of experiment. And then you get like more resonance, higher vibrational clothes or food or whatever as you get the answers right. I don't like that part. That part that's not source. That's something else. Clearly, that is something else. But let's keep on watching because it gets very interesting.
I didn't see buildings for a while, but I did later on. I was then shown, I left that group, and I was shown a group that had been there for a while. And that group, they were wearing, they almost looked like they were wearing plain clothes like you'd see on Earth. And they only worked for 2 to 3 hours a day, and their work was taking care of the place. I don't know, I wasn't there long enough to see really what that meant. I don't know if that meant the plumbing or if it meant government. I have no idea, but that's what I was told. And then their places of residence looked like living rooms. There were fireplaces. They had television that some of the same programs were playing, like here on Earth. There was The Bachelor. I saw that playing on one. They had some of the same movies. And I had a chance to talk to someone there. And she told me that, I said, well, do you miss being home? And she said, yes, I hope to go home soon. I feel that I've been here for about a year. And I said, does your family miss you? And she said, I'm not allowed to talk about it. So then I went back to the tour guide and I said, what happens if they came here when they were asleep? What's happening now? Are they in a coma? Did they pass? And then he said, I have another room to show you. And this is where he took me to the room with all the pods. So this is the part that I've been a little nervous to share about.
It sounds like some of these people are being held against their will. I'm just saying, let's keep that in the back of our mind. And it seems as if their sovereignty was not protected. You know, it seems like some of them were hoping to go home. But this is where it gets interesting. Oh,
he took me to this.
Oh boy, guys. They don't want me to do this video, do they?
Room that didn't seem to have any ending to it. The ceiling didn't end, the walls didn't end. The climate was cool. It was lit with lights that didn't seem fluorescent, but it wasn't natural lighting either. But when he walked me in there, every person that I had encountered on my tour, and I had walked through thousands of people, everyone there, their actual body was in a pod. And he said, what you must understand is that every person on Earth is here. Earth is a copy. We're calling Earth Soul Earth Exile 13 because it is in its 13th version. And when you come here, people have woken up out of their dreams because they have burst out of the matrix. Their consciousness has been asking, what more is there? And some part of them has woken up enough that we have brought them back here because they are going through a reorientation. And we bring them back here to go through this process. We ask them, what do you remember in kindergarten? What do you remember in your 5th grade time? What do you remember from your high school years? And then at some point, we give them a chance to create a life here. And I said, well, what happens to them there? And they said, their life goes on through an avatar. That if a person has their body in a pod and their consciousness is creating a life on this place where I was visiting, their earth body has an avatar there. And at some point, they are given a choice. Do you want to stay here, or do you want to go back to Soul Earth Exile 13? And if they choose to stay, they remain on this place that I saw. And if they choose to go back, they go back to Soul Earth Exile 13. When they go back to Soul Earth Exile 13, the process for that is they go up to their pod and they merge back with their body. They have about 2 seconds to go back into that pod. There's a button that they push so they don't suffocate because there's liquid in there. And there's a moment where they can decide if they want to remember this experience or not. And that's why there are people on this earth who are remembering these places, that they're remembering that they are in pods because they likely chose to remember. And then they wake up. They wake up and they had this wild dream where they were gone for 6 months or a year. They've gone to the place where our physical bodies actually are stored. This earth is just a copy. As collectively, as a people, we kind of know this because we've been talking about it as, I think this is made up. I think this is a matrix or a hologram. We're right. But where this got corrupted, my friend, is where we also started to write in with each other ideas where maybe we got too invested in religious systems or school systems or financial systems that created a hierarchy where someone or some group was in charge, and we lost our equality. And so what we might be doing wrong here, according to the angelic realm and the guidance, the councils, is that we've forgotten that we are supposed to work together. And so when some of us have a chance to go to this other realm, what we're learning there, what we're relearning is that we work together. Because that other place I went when our bodies were in pods, we're not captured over there. We're working together, and that's what we're relearning. And so those who have that chance to live there for a while, if they choose to come back, it seems like the opportunity is to come back and rewrite how we live here, because it's supposed to be collaborative. And it got corrupted when we decided, okay, well, I have this knowledge or I have this amount of money, so I'm going to keep it over you. I'm going to control you with it. And there doesn't have to be any judgment attached to that. It's just the way we evolved. And now we can rewrite that. And they didn't necessarily give me a process for that because they said we are doing it as we speak. And this earth that we have here now, when we talk about things like the new earth, the 5D earth, they showed me that we're already there. All of the dimensions there's an infinite amount of dimensions that are available to us. We already resonate in those dimensions. The more we are authentic with ourselves and each other, and the more we rely on each other, and we are authentically kind. We don't have to ignore our bad days or our feelings, but the more we just sit with it and say, okay, what are we going to do with this? And let's rewrite how we manage conflict. Those types of ideas. And we don't necessarily...
Let me move forward.
When I came back, my part of the NDE was, after I saw that, I said, do I get to make a choice? And they said, yes, you can choose, since you've seen it all, your trip is a little bit different. You've been here before. You've been through the cycle. You can choose to be here as well, but you'll start from the beginning like everybody else. We will kind of give you an amnesia. You'll have an amnesia effect, so you're not going to remember seeing all this stuff. But if you choose, you'll do this. You'll have kind of an avatar. You will have an avatar who will be mom to your children and your husband. Well, my ego got in there and I thought, I don't want that. No, nobody can do it like me. So I said, no, I wanted to come back, but I did make the choice to remember. So that's how I know this near-death experience. That's what I know, my friend.
Rachel, thank you for sharing your experience with us. Would you say that that control room where the people are working and where bodies are in pods, is that base reality? Is that the true physical reality there?
Yes. Yes. If there is a true physical reality where we have hearts that bleed, I would say yes. That's what it felt like. And I was just thinking about that the other day. If we are vibrational here, even though we feel like, you cut me, I bleed. If that's really not true, well, then where are we physically existing? It's that place. And I don't know what it's called, but when I ask, I keep hearing Tartaria.
Did you see your body in a pod?
I did. I was able to see my body. My body, I'm 48 right now, and I love my body, but I recognize that I have stretch marks and things from having children. I know exactly what my body looks like. When I saw my body there, I was maybe 20 or 21, and I've had a mole removed. My mole was still there that I had from birth. And I was young. Everybody there was young. Everybody was in a young body. And there were people that I had a chance to ask them, how old are you on Earth? I'm 7. I'm 78. I'm 50. Some people didn't want to go back because if they went back, they wouldn't have much time to live, even though they had children there. They knew, well, if I go back, I'm in trouble with the law. I want to be here. Some people chose to stay there, but they were all different ages, but there, in that planet, everybody was young.
I like making my podcast. I don't like making short clips of my podcast.
So this,
No, you
I
have
don't
the
know.
workers there that are operating the computers and the machines and maybe overwatching the pods. I would assume those people are in base reality. But the other people that were there that were dreaming here in this reality, in my opinion, they're also as an avatar. Their body was in the pod, but they were there as an avatar as well as just like being here, right?
Right. So their base body, their flesh and bone is in the pod. And then when they are here on Earth, that's avatar. Then when they visit there, they are an avatar. And then there's some point where they graduate to a certain level that they are actually in their base body, and their base body is not in the pod anymore. There is some point there where their base body is not in the pod. So if they decide to go back to Earth, they are going back into the pod. They're merging back into the pod.
They call this place Soul Earth Exile 13.
Yes.
And when I hear the word
I
exile,
don't
to me
sound
that
it.
means that we live on a prison planet.
I asked about that. They said exile comes from, it's called that for 2 reasons. First of all, in our Earth history, there have been several times where Earth has blown up, like a reset button has been hit. And so this is the 13th iteration of Earth. I asked about the prison, and they said also right now, because so many of us collectively have lost our power, that this is existing as a prison planet, that when humans die, they are getting into a reincarnation loop. And they did show me the way out of it, which I can share today. And they said that when we are here, because we don't know about the system in place, because this system of the pods, that's not the prison. We all agreed to that to keep us safe, and we're here to experience. This is the playground Earth. But since we were supposed to remember that, but the corruption was taken from us. That part of our belief system, or that, no, not belief system, let me take that out, that doesn't feel good. That part of our knowing was taken from us, and what was filtered in were different extraterrestrial nations, hence the reptilians. At some point, they came in and they started to feed on us, because we, as humans, we do such a great job of emoting. We're both joyful and we can be hateful, and those emotions are yummy to those reptilian factions. Now, the human in me feels like an idiot saying those things out loud, but I've seen it. I know it to be true, and I know some reptilians in my life, and they have told me as such. And so,
all right, guys, there's a little bit more, but it's very interesting. So I was like, I was walking earlier and I was kind of listening to it. But now that I'm listening to it again, I'm listening with my full spidey senses. There's something not on the up and up about this pod that she went to. I've not heard the word oversoul, higher self. It did not seem, here's the thing, guys. I'm going to say this. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to say this. Hopefully. Okay. I'm just making sure you guys can still see me. Okay, cool. There's something about this story that's not on the up and up for me. Now, not unvalidating her experience, right? Her experience is her experience, but I remove entities for a living. There's some telltale signs of a few things that I don't like. The fact that, okay, let me tell you this. She was talking about the elevator, right? So when they, in what, Soul Exile 13, Soul Earth Exile 13, that doesn't sound good, but it does remind me of, of a different dimensional space, possibly an ancestral realm, right? But here's the thing. She talked about going down on the elevator. So sometimes when I lead people to past lives, I will use an elevator in there. We're normally not going down, we're normally going up. So it's very interesting that she went down to get there, right? Which to me tells me, this is like interdimensional travel. So I understand she said that she was on Earth, but I'm getting a strong dimension. And, different Earths are in different dimensions. There's different fabrications of Earth is what Source is saying. Different fabrications, or, you know what I mean? If the collective, as a collective soul body, if we have a collective experience, sometimes that will jolt us into another Earth, a fragmentation of Earth, so we can live out that experience. And sometimes, we get the Mandela effect thing, and it's because we are changing in between different versions of the fabricated Earth. Okay, the fabricated Earth here. Listen. Source is really strongly bringing this word out. And we're also going to talk about Tahirah because she mentioned that. And I was hoping that she would go more into that, but she didn't. So I want to go back to that. But fabricated. But Source is really saying this is fabricated. And one thing I know from channeling the Cosmic Bible is that Source did not create Earth. Earth was always created by, as we spoke about, was Yaldabaoth and his minions. That is who created Earth. Now, that was the 13th iteration, right, as she says, of Earth. But I'm giving you backstory from a client session because I feel like the NDEs and also the past life regressions I do, they kind of can help us see a bigger picture, right? So I know for, not a fact, but I mean, I was there. I experienced it through my client, right? That, Yaldabaoth created this Earth, right? And so that was a little weird to me. The other thing is going down on the elevator, and then it almost is like, hey, they're asking probing questions. Can you remember this? What do you remember about your life? What do you remember? Why are they asking them to remember things? That sounds like to me that they are siphoning out those memories. I'm so sorry, because I truly wanted to. I don't want to make everything about siphon. I don't. But I work with so many energies. I've seen this thing a lot. This felt like a place she was taken, but it did not feel like a source place, a place from infinite source and power. This feels like a different iteration so that they could examine people like her. I would not be surprised if, in fact, the Greys were ultimately behind this NDE. And sometimes we can have these false NDEs where your system will get shut down. Remember how she said that it was from alcoholism, it jolted her body started shutting down, it jolted her into this NDE. Well, alcoholism, that comes along with a spirit, with an attachment. Alcoholism in general is a entity. Gluttony is an entity. Greed is an entity. 7 deadly sins all have, spirits and entities attached to them. So there was already in the alcoholism entity working. That thing jolted her into this NDE. What I'm getting in my spirit is that this NDE experience she was delivered on a platter to this, and she kept saying, and they said, who is the they? One thing, when I was channeling the Cosmic Bible, and it even says that in there, I asked, who are the hour? Because they just kept saying hour. Who is the hour? And then that's when I got the rollout, Mother Source, Father Source, Cosmic Brother, Cosmic Sister. But I'm kind of curious if she were to probe a little bit psychically to find out who is the they. And where have they been? Because just because beings are showing us an experience doesn't make it true. No matter how good it feels, still don't make it real. You have to ask the probing questions. You have to do the psychic investigation so you can see from a micro and macro level of things. So I didn't like that part. I also don't like the part that some people said they're ready to go. That they've been here for a year. That sounds like their sovereignty is it's being withheld from them. And then also they're on a reward system. Oh, you're going to get a higher resonance, a higher vibration if you can remember this, this, and that. That seems a little off to me, and a little bit like collusion as well. So fabricated earth. So fabrication. A construct or manufacture, especially from a prepared components. Oh God. Okay. I always talk about this. There's some people that are made and other people that are formed. Hold on. I got to get the channel. I channeled a long time ago. There's a difference between being a creator and being a maker of something. When you are a maker of something, all of the raw materials are already there. So fashioned, you have to fashion it from something. If they fashion earth, that's not source. This is what source is saying. That experience she had was fashioned. If something is fashioned, that means it's made. If something is made, that means that all they had to do was take the raw materials. Spirit, soul, dirt, to create bodies. If you are the true creator, then the creator gives birth to itself. Those stories, God stepped out of nowhere. God said, let there be light, and there was. Creator births itself. If you're making something, you're fashioning it together from pieces and raw materials that are already constructed or created by the source. So this place she went to, is what source is saying, was a fabrication of earth. So we're looking at second gen at best. Now the whole pod situation, that is true. But whoever is trying to put her in that experience has some truth, because we are actually on pods, but they are on ships. I would like to think that we are on ships with those, those glasses on, and we are just having this virtual experience. Because if you are infinite and you are from source, then yes, this is just, a place where you can kind of project down, soul consciousness, right? You could still have a physical experience, but the part of you, the oversoul, is always well kept. So I understand that, and that's why it's so tricky with these NDEs and even other, spiritual experiences that people have, because you have to ask who's telling you the story. Who is this they that she speaks of? You have to examine all of that, because they could be giving you half truths. So that's the first thing that I want to say about this. Also, too, something was very interesting when I start to do the automatic drawing on this, where, I believe this place that she went to, the reason why she went there is the key word was the alcoholism, was the trauma. It was the trauma, or the entity of alcoholism, that delivered her up to this particular experience. Whether that experience is half true or not, that is how she got there. Because obviously what we're truly looking at here is not necessarily the experience that she had. What we're looking at is the experience through the eyes of the entity of alcoholism. That's what is truly happening. Because if she would have had a near-death experience and not be an alcoholism, it would have been a totally different place, is what I am getting. So her NDE is a little skewed simply because of the alcoholism, of the lower vibrational trauma. Then that is what she was able to receive, right? Also, too, in the automatic drawing, I believe that these people in the pod situation, they're fishing. They're fishing for information from souls. They want to know how much you can remember. I think those pods were some sort of, technology that were siphoning those thoughts. And I think that they may have wanted that to fashion another version of humanity, because they know that we're wising up to this version. So they're picking people who have some heavy traumas. They're trying to know what they know, get into their head, take what they, take a bit of consciousness here and there to fashion something, trying to keep up with our ascension. This is what I'm getting very strongly. And so essentially, it feels as if whatever place she found herself in, I just felt a telepathic impression in like the right like hip area, and it's raining something serious here. Oh my god. Hold on, guys, it's pouring down rain. Can you guys still hear me? This is crazy. Hold on. Okay, let me put this back on, because it'll mute that rain in the background. Give me 1 second, right? 1 second, guys. 1 second. Okay. 1 second. One moment, guys. I'm gonna make it so you can hear me. Okay. Oh, darn it. Darn it. Do you see how it just started raining? This is interesting. Hold on. And I got a telepathic impression in my hip. I'm about to explain to you guys what they were doing there on those pods. Oh, goodness. Okay. All right. Can you guys hear me okay now? Is that better? Okay. I hope that's better for you. Yes, it sounds loud. Okay. It should be a little better. Can you hear me better now? Without the rain? I'm going to check it on my end. 1. Thank you, Sister Sonia. Yes? Okay, cool. Okay, so we're good to go. Now, let's continue. What was happening on those pods? Because I'm telling you, if you watch that, it seems like everything's on the up and up. But now when I'm watching it with my spidey senses, you know, something's not on the up and up. Here's the thing. Let me show you guys this. Let's take a look at this automatic drawing. What was happening on those pods is they were fishing for soul information. You guys are upgrading. Humanity is upgrading something serious, and it appears to me that they have some of the old version of human, right? And they need to upgrade their system of power and control. It's kind of what I'm getting. Let's take a look at this. This, if you look here, down on this lower, this is my right side, and I'm getting an impression on my right side, a telepathic impression. So now I think I understand what this is. If you look at this, this thing has its mouth open right here, and there's a face stuck in there. Let me find it. There's a victim stuck right here. Let me see. Hold on, it's hard to see right there. There's a face, 2 eyes, kind of the nose is hanging down and the mouth is kind of sideways. So there's a consciousness, someone's head. And then look, this thing has its mouth open. This is what they were doing. Those people that were on that pod, they're being held against their will. And because the head is here, it reminds me of consciousness, extraction. This thing has gained more power. Whoever it was, or whoever they were, more than one. It's a star race. It's a star race. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like a big monster. Yes. So I wish she would have did some automatic drawing after the situation. Now she needs to go do soul retrieval. I'm not saying that because she seems very, I'm sure she's done all that because this woman seems very, you know, she's just telling her experience. I'm just examining it from, you know, from someone who removes entities for a living. But yeah, that's what's going on. The moment she started talking, I did feel some sort of impression, kind of, you know, within like the heart space or the, you know, the middle quadrant of the body. And we also get here right smack in the middle. There's a face here, almost like a death state. These are the people in the pod sleeping right here. There's one eye here, kind of a mouth kind of turned over, like almost like it's drooling. These people have been sedated and they've been on that pod for a very long time. Like that woman said, hey, I've been here about a year. I'm ready to go home. They don't even really know how long they've been there. That's a victim right here. Right here in the heart. So it tells me they are connecting some place in the heart and within the hip as well. So there's some activity here that I don't like. My pen kept going over and over and over here. There's some sort of activity here that I just don't like. It doesn't feel good at all. But nevertheless, this energy here is covering up half of this person's face. They're asleep. These are the people on the pod. They're sleeping. They're in a deep sleep. Okay. There's another face eating like Pac-Man here. Look at this one. This one's eating too. We have one eating here. There's the nose. There's the mouth. Now we have another one eating. The mouth is open more. There's a little eye here, a little nose. This top part of the mouth is open, and here too. There's duplicates of this thing. Oh, oh, there's 3. There's 1 here. Whoa, shoot, there's a lot. Hold on now. It's giving Pac-Man, baby. There's a lot. There's like 3. These are all copies, guys. This is a copy, and the fabrication that Source is talking about is also a duplication. Look, this thing. It's kind of like the nose is here, the mouth is open here, and then here. This one looks like Pac-Man. There's like multiple face. It's a trippy. It's like you look at one image and you see multiples. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I hope you guys can see it. You see it? The animals too, right? There's something very strange about this experience she had. Also too, there's something up here. Also too, this looks like a mouth open here as well. But also too, this looks like a face that we find here. And I know she said she was a cherubim angel, right? And those are supposed to be like the fierce angels, you know, of God's angels. But I think I'm getting a little bit of that energy up here. So I just want to validate that. I feel that she may be a cherubim, you know, angel. But this experience to me is not on the up and up. It feels like a massive siphon fest, unfortunately. A massive siphon fest. Yep, and I already pointed this out down here. One face here, another face here. Then you reverse it. There's another face here, a bigger one eating. They're taking the victims here. One victim there, one victim there. They're feasting off of the energy, and then there's a bigger thing here coming in like this. There's a dualistic. These energies going this way. This energy's going in this way. This is feeding, holding duality, just feeding, kind of keeping these people in this pod. The energy's not going up or down. It's moving back and forth from in between these different vibrations here. They're eating. They're siphoning. This one's siphoning here. Then boom, these two get the energy, spit that out, give it to this one eats it, goes back and forth. Those people are being held in those pods for energy consumption is what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting. For energy consumption. Okay, that's the automatic drawing. Now, she does actually go on to say some things that are very true. I think she's very, very, spiritually astute. I think she does get it. I just, knowing what I know about entities, I just had to say that because there's something going wrong with that whole situation. Now, mind you, she was the observer, right? So she wasn't actually there. Nothing was happening to her, but there were people there saying that they wanted to go home and that they've been there for a little bit of time, right? I'm almost wondering if we need to go save those people from Soul Earth Exile 13. That's the vibe that I'm getting. That these are people that need saving. I'm not getting that this is where the collective is stationed at, where our oversoul and higher self is stationed. I'm not getting that at all. I'm getting that these people are being fed good vibrations so that they could butter them up and steal their good vibrations from them. That's what I'm getting. Now, let's see. She does talk about reincarnation soul trap, how to get out of that and all of that. Let's take a look at this again. But that's just what's happening with that NDE. okay. Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. Ugh, let me take this off so that you guys can hear. Sorry, sorry, sorry. 1 second. Okay, so I know you guys couldn't hear that last part, but essentially she does start talking about that we're being farmed here, right? But she doesn't make the connection between the experience that she had, right? But she does start to go to talk about that. 1 second, let me make sure you guys can see. What I have to do is I have to unplug this so that you guys can hear. So I just did that. So now you will be able to hear. Okay. So let me share again. Let me share again, my friends.
But no, this is not our home. And as much as we love our spouses and our children, they are not really our spouses and our children. They are our best mates. We could even say our soulmates who sign up to be in this playground with us. But I saw so many people over there that chose to stay, loving, but knowing and loving their soulmates that are here, but creating new family systems over there because our hearts know how to do that. Hard choice, but they could do it. We don't want to lose sight of the reincarnation trap.
Right. So did you tell us how to get out?
Nope. The reincarnation trap. One of the things that was put into place, one of the ideas put into place a long time ago was go into the light. Go into the light. That's wrong. It's part of the trap. There are archons in place. We'll call them bouncers. And they are waiting for us when we cross over because what their job is. And this is not part of the planet that I saw. This is part of entrapment from another race of beings. But they're around us when we leave our avatar and we're trying to get back. What they do is they present us with, it feels like temptation, really, to try to get us to stay in our doubt, to stay with our avatar.
Guys, she doesn't realize that that's exactly what she just experienced. She's about to say how to get out of the reincarnation soul trap. She's talking about the archons. She has no idea that you're literally on an archonic place with pods, and they were fishing for your memories so they can use it against you later after you pass away. She didn't make that connection. That's okay. Let's continue.
And not reunite with our true self.
Oh, come on, man. Hold on. Okay. It's probably the weather because it's a little stormy here.
So what they'll do is they'll first show us light that
Let's hope.
feels so warm and wonderful. So we'll say yes to that. And also we've been shown that in so many movies.
Sorry, guys, it's storming here. So let's see if she's talking
We're
about.
trying to get back.
Okay.
What they do is they present us with, it feels like temptation, really, to try to get us to stay in our doubt, to stay with our avatar and not reunite with our true self. So what they'll do is they'll first show us light that feels so warm and wonderful. So we'll say yes to that. And also we've been shown that in so many movies and literature. So they'll first show us light, then they'll show us family, reunite with family, loved ones. Then they'll show us possibly angels, and they might show us sacred shapes, like sacred geometry. And then we must say, oh, this must be heaven. They will show us several gateways. Every time you see a gateway or a temptation, no matter what it is, we are told to stand on our 2 feet, shoulders back, like you're about to give a speech. And you say, I revoke any contracts or agreements I made under amnesia. Every time, that's the password. I revoke any contracts or agreements I made under amnesia.
So she's talking about how to not get caught up in the archonic lie, the soul trap. But do you notice how in her NDE she said that they will put you under amnesia if you choose to not want to remember the experience? So now what she's saying is how to get sovereign from the archons is that you have to revoke any contracts that you took under amnesia. She's not connecting that part was part of the archons. This was not an authentic source experience that she observed, right? She was the observer of it. They were fishing for information to use against humanity after they pass away. That's what they were doing. They were stealing the memories. That's what those pods were. And it's another race of being doing this. And I would not be surprised. It feels very much grayish, as if the grays are were the ones instrumenting this, because the grays be working for other extraterrestrial races, especially like the reptilians as well. So she didn't put that connection together. So as she's telling us how to get out, she's also saying that there was amnesia. You could choose amnesia there. Source will never give you amnesia. Never give you amnesia. Just wanted to say that. So, oh, thank you, George Lopez. Thank you for the $10 super sticker. Thank you so very much. I'm going to get to the comments in a moment, but do you guys see what I'm saying here? Let's continue. We're almost done. No, that's not it. That's not it. Hold on. Let's get back to it. There we go.
And they will let you through. They have to let you through. And then at the end.
That's a lie. Hold on. That's a lie. Woo! I'm channeling. Guys, and this is not to pick on anyone, but I'm getting a bunch of telepathic messages over here. So do you know what these archons are doing when you say, I revoke any sort of soul contract I took under amnesia? Do you see this? Let me show you. My hand is behind my back. You know when someone crosses their hands like this and puts it behind the back so you can't see? That's what they're doing. This is not on the up and up. Like, baby, I love these telepathic impressions because you can really know what's happening. They have their hand behind their back. That's not, I know that, I don't know if they told her that, but that's not gonna work. That ain't gonna work. They don't care. If they could violate you, through this experience, if they could violate people all the time, you think you're going to say, I'm sovereign and that's it? No, they got their hand behind their back. They're tricky. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. Okay.
And you will turn around and you'll be reunited with everybody, with Source,
No.
because you'll see everybody that, regardless of how they are in their pods and their avatars, some of this stuff honestly, it doesn't make sense to me, and it doesn't have to, because it'll make sense when we're all there.
No,
Some of this-
no. It has to make sense now, or it's not real. It has to make sense now, or it's not real. And she's saying, so after she says, hey, just say, I end any contracts I took under amnesia. And then she said, you're going to turn around and see your loved ones. No, that's part of the reincarnation soul trap too. Graving images. It says in the Bible, no graving images. It's all about energy and vibration. You better follow that vibration. And you better understand what the vibration of Source feels like. And so I know it has to make sense now, because you can't risk it that it's going to make sense later, that you're trusting for it all just to make sense. No. That's why we're learning about this stuff now. It has to make sense now, because if it doesn't, then it's just another archonic, smoke and mirrors.
Stuff, we get locked into our egos and trying to figure it out like biology class. We don't have to. We just need to know how to get back to what we know, get back to our origin. Because in the first place, we designed this earth with Source to be a place where we could come and learn the good stuff and the hard stuff. And we got to get back to that. And this is the way we keep on the path.
Why does Source let all this happen to us?
Because true Source is not a religious God. True Source is not a decision maker. True Source is made of pure love and energy. True Source is not a patriarch or a mother.
Come on. Lord. Y'all playing. Oh, sorry guys. It's the weather. It's the weather, guys. This fake weather that we got here.
The God that makes decisions is a religious God. And a religious God can serve us as well. We can pray to a religious God. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we go above and beyond that, the God that we're all connected to is bigger than that. We're older than that as souls. We go way back with Source. We're talking.
Hold on, guys. She just said you can pray to a religious God. That's okay. But the God that we are connected to is bigger than that. Did you guys catch that? I'm so sorry, because I really wanted to agree with her, but I can't. She just said it. Hold on. She just said it.
We're older than that as souls.
Hold on.
Why does Source let all this happen to us?
Listen at this.
Because true Source is not a religious God. True Source is not a decision maker. True Source is made of pure love and energy. True Source is not a patriarch or a mother. The God that makes decisions is a religious God. And a religious God can serve us as well. We can pray to a religious God. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we go above and beyond that, the God that we're all connected to is bigger than that. We're older than that as souls.
I get it, girl. I get it. You want to make people feel comfortable because they're in their religion. I get that. I get it. I've done it before, but I know too much. She just literally said, you can pray to the God of religion. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we zone out, essentially, then you will see that the God you belong to is bigger than that. So who's the religious God? She just said it. That's why she's getting this experience with the pod. And that's why people are getting tripped up. Because even that experience is not on the up and up. So she said, you can pray to the religious God. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you zone out, you realize you're connected to a God or a source that is greater than that. So who is that religious God that is less than source? That means you are praying to the lesser God. You can't serve two masters. And in fact, source is not a master. So that's the problem, guys, right there. The problem is that people are trying to keep one foot in what they know, to please society, the religious God. I get it, because you don't want to offend anyone and where they are. But this video is about truth. She just said that was a lesser God. She just said it, but I don't know if she understood it. But she said it. That's a lesser God. Anything less than the divine source, it's an entity. The religious God is an absolute entity. Look into what the Gnostics say. I'm not even coming from that angle. I'm coming from exactly what she said and what it is that I discovered on my journey when I realized that most people are praying to an entity that is preying on them. I channeled this in the Cosmic Bible. So that's a problem. And she talks about, who source is. Source is not masculine or feminine, but no, source is the combination of the two. Source is the vibration, the mother source, which we talked about Sophia yesterday, is the vibration. The vibration came before the energy, which is the masculine part or father source. But source doesn't live within these characteristics. Source just exists within wholeness. It's us that pulls it apart to find out masculine and feminine. First generational source, because like I said, Sophia is from the second creation. There's been more than one creation. What that means is when everything gets consumed again. And I know she said that, she goes on to say later that the earth won't be destroyed again, but yes, it will, because Father Source is coming with the great swallow that it speaks of in the Great Expansion. And it's when Father Source finally moves after all of these eons and just reconsumes and swallows everything. It's a massive universal cycle that happens when everything gets consumed and brought back closer to the all of Source for refinement unto a time where the stillness now becomes vibrational yet again through the creative feminine part of Source. And then there is a big bang or birth yet again. That is what will be happening. Okay? Just wanted to say that.
We go way back with Source. We're talking about Source that created everything. And the religious God, the angels actually call him the demiurge. And the demiurge created himself as a god, almost like Zeus, as a smaller god. And it's not wrong. It's just that at one point, Source, the original God, was so excited to experience energy that there was almost like this explosion. And the demiurge, the small...
No. We spoke about this yesterday. So I knew Source brought this into my feed. Listen, she said there's nothing wrong with that, but you just said the lesser God is the demiurge. There is something wrong with worshiping the demiurge, which is responsible for the reincarnation soul trap and the archonic thought loops and forms. This NDE was a total siphon fest. Maybe not from her because she was just observing it, but from the people that were taking there. And some of them are deciding to stay. What I think that she was witnessing, we are seeing in real time, the reincarnation soul trap. It's not the fact that they can actually take you, take essence, take soul, take spirit, but they can trick you into putting these pod-like, experiences into the psyche of the collective. That's why she was there, because she's actually powerful. They wanted to put that into her psyche because some of us hold collective codes, right? I'm channeling all of this. She holds some shamanic codes. So they took her there to put her into, to take that so they can put the pod life into her psyche, right? And then she will broadcast that out. All that we're witnessing here is just the demiurge trying to re-up on the enslavement of humanity's consciousness. That's what we're experiencing here. I thought I wanted it to be on the up and up. I want to just have a light message. But I'm sorry, I know too much about these creepy crawly beings. But it truly is, the archons. And there is something wrong with worship. I'm getting this very strongly. Source does not resonate with worship, because if you worship, you are in an unbalanced energy. Source is the balance of energy, frequency, vibration. Source doesn't do worship. In order to worship, you have to put yourself down and exalt life force energy up and out. What mother or father would take the precious gift of breath and essence and soul and consciousness away from the child and want you to cycle it back out unto them? Would never happen. That would never happen. Ever, never, never. We can love Source. We can appreciate Source. We can sing songs and hymns to celebrate the energy that is. But Source is saying the worship is wrong because it takes from you, my beloved. It takes away from you. Okay? Anything that wants to take away from you is not adding to you. It's not of Source. And then she gets into, kind of what we were talking about yesterday about, the feminine part of Source was so excited to experience energy. That is a lie. That is an absolute lie. As we outline the story about Sophia and the channel that I had, there was a snake in the garden, and also Adam was colluded as well. I got to find that channel for you guys. I did about a year or a half ago. Very deep. She was not so excited, Sophia, Mother Source, to experience energy. She's the vibration that energy was birthed from. Not because she is saying, I'm going to birth you. No. Because her vibrations is the loving, flowing whispers of the universal spheres. This is why. So that's not true, because this story has been regurgitated and regurgitated. And like I said, if you talk to any master teacher, they will give you this same version, but Source is saying something different. All started with the vibration. When a volcano is going to erupt, it's already been some movement underneath the ground for a very long time, hundreds or possibly thousands of years. When we see the lava overflow, we are actually seeing something in the past, although we are experiencing it as the present, but we are having a deja vu situation happen, right? So that is what I want to say about that. It's the same thing. Well, what I'm talking about here. So Sophia was in, she wasn't excited to experience energy. She gave birth to energy. Just because that is, a creator gives birth to themselves. From the feminine births the masculine. Woman, man. The man came from the womb, man. Creators birth themselves. Source. Makers, they take raw materials and put it together. Humanity has reached a certain level of consciousness where we are no longer accepting the makers. We want to go directly to the origin because of the archonic forces. We understand that now. So I'm sorry to say, anything less than the feminine part of source, I'm going to really not really look at that like I've reached the pinnacle or the moad or what they call it. Because we're looking for the creator, which will give us blueprint. Will give us blueprint. Sophia wasn't excited to experience energy, but rather when my client session through the past life regression quantum healing session, she was down here in this heaven state in the year of 00000. There was no one there. She was existing within flow, free and flow. All of a sudden there was a man, which is Yaldabaoth. He ensnared her, encapsulated her. She merged with him. And then now we get gravity. Gravity is fake. We spoke about that yesterday. It's only because of the trafficking of the feminine energy or water. Because who is source, whose mother's source, or the live representation of that is water. On every planet, there is a substance of life. This is what source calls it. You're never left without feminine energy here. Father's source says he doesn't come here. Mother comes because of her gentleness. He's a force. If you want Father's source to come back, everything gets swallowed. That's his job. He's not leaving the post. That's why you have an energy body, so that greater things you shall do. So your body's mostly water. That is source. Your spirit links into your consciousness. This is how you understand if you've done something wrong. Spirit consciousness, which is still substance of life in the vibration of water. The vibration is absolutely first. So essentially, we got to free Sophia, like I said yesterday, which is the waters inside of you. Which if you were to pull your waters apart and examine that spiritually, this is what's holding in all your trauma. That's what they needed her for. The archons are crafty. So the archons took a piece of Sophia. There was a snake in a garden that colluded it. They were able to ensnare her, to capture her, put some sort of, entrapment on her. This is why the feminine energy, we really haven't seen the power of the feminine yet. Even though it seems like women has all these rights, I am telling you what I saw. There is still chains on her. She's enslaved. And as a safekeep, this is how evil the lesser God is. You don't even know that you're helping to store her inside of your body. That you have to free Mama, Source, Sophia. Now, is this Sophia is the second creation. Mama Source don't have no names. Mama Source is empty spaces in between every little thing. 0 point energy. The energy that you will never be able to get rid of no matter what you do, no matter what quantum computing machines that you use. If you want to try to dim someone's light, You cannot totally stump it out because the vibration, the 0 point energy will always be left there. That is who she is. Sophia is a second. We're looking at the second creation. This is the second creation is when we start to understand the polarities of such, right and wrong, and black and white, and up and down, and masculine and feminine. As before in first generation, source consciousness, there was no awareness of that. There was a period of time here on earth where the women used to reproduce via parthenogenesis, I think, something like that. And then we get Genesis being the first book of the Bible. And then we get the womb man. And then we get, saying that, Eve was taken from the rib, right? Those ribs look a lot like, the boat, like the water, if it, that's the vibe that it's given now. And so within the body of man, I'm channeling all of this, it tells the story about the flood. There's been many different versions of humanity along the way. But it tells the story about the flood, right? When you look at a bone, a rib bone is kind of curved like a wooden boat, right? And this also came up in the session where there was actual wood pieces stuck in my client from Noah's Ark being, kind of being destroyed. Well, she was trying to get free, so she started to try to get free, and I guess she took some pieces of the ship out. That's what they don't tell you. There's a whole nother story about Noah y'all don't know about. I might share that with you guys, but through another past life regression session. So here's the thing. Mother Sophia is inside of us. And the reason why the archons are able to manipulate us is simply because the water holds memory, because it's consciousness. And so they're able to get in through pulling through those emotional triggers through the emotional body, and that imprints onto your source waters. And then the trauma can be cycled through you. That's their doing. That's Yaldabaoth. That's the lesser God that she's saying that it's okay to pray to the lesser God. No, it is not okay. It is not okay to pray to the demiurge. If you know better, we got to do better. And that's been the problem of why we've been stuck on this journey, because people are trying to just say, hey, no, it's okay. Just, do what you feel. No, that's keeping the trauma and keeping us recycled. Okay. So I just wanted to say that. But, this is all about freeing the feminine. I think between yesterday's video and today's video, when we zone it all back, it's about getting rid of this notion that women just collude things, that women do silly things, and they make a oops baby. Can a woman make a oops baby, make Yaldabaoth the lesser god without a man? Ask yourself that. Can a woman make a oops baby without a man? No. So that is a lie. They're trying to lie on the feminine because they know that she is the original source code. She gave birth to herself. So what I was getting at is that women used to reproduce via parthenogenesis, something like that. The first book of the Bible is Genesis. So they're already they're starting from a point. They're not starting the story of the Bible from the beginning, guys. They are not. They're starting it from at least a second generation, or a second creation, rather. That's where the Bible's starting from. It doesn't tell you about the first creation. That's why I'm here. Possibly in book 2. I hope to go beyond creation and explore the first creation, because that is what truly is going to get us free. How were we before this creation, where the feminine energy was taken and enslaved? And until we free Mama Source inside of us, we're going to keep having this happen, because the waters imprint. They are using the waters to imprint traumas. So essentially what keeps you recycled truly is not any archon really, but it's your lack of consciousness or light awareness into your own soul essence being. If you don't know yourself, the dark parts of yourself, the unconscious parts of yourself, if you only know the parts that you have experienced and you don't know the parts that are just laying on the bed of the template that have yet to be expressed and only gets expressed when certain triggers are hit, then they're going to use that. And that's why the pod life was happening, because they were saying, hey, what do you remember? What do you remember? They were taking the thoughts, the consciousness. It was a siphon fest. That's what it was. I digress, y'all. Okay. So that's what was happening. Let me see. I'm in the comments now. You're cooking. You're flowing. Guys, this is the kind of videos I like to do. Like psychic investigation, that's fun, but like there's so much more bandwidth that I have to share with you guys. There's just so much more bandwidth. Like the video, guys, and subscribe to this vibration. So this really answers our questions. Do you see how Source did that? How Source aligned through our conversation yesterday, aligned me to find a video, would show up in my feed. And then I just so happened to be walking on my treadmill and I had time to just listen to it, to bring it here, because guys, we are about to free the divine feminine. That's what this is for. We are about to unlock these codes, and the codes will lead us back to beyond creation. Keisha says, Mom, right? Woman didn't need man to create no baby. That's, yeah. Okay, there's so many comments. So let me try to start from the beginning, because I don't want to read I can't even read all these. I don't want to read fragmented comments. You know, I'm going to try to go in order. Yeah, there was a little frozenness happening just because, you know, there's the storm here, and also I had to unplug my mic, but we figured that one out. Okay, perfect. I'm just reading through the comments here. Mermaid Motion says, you show us very interesting videos. Is the pod thing the devil? It wasn't on the up and up. Yeah, that's, you know, it was just part of the archons trying to siphon consciousness from humanity. That's all that was. So I ain't living in no pod, right? Yeah, that wasn't on the up and up. So Natalie said, okay, so she was explaining. So this lady said that she was jolted from her body because of, like, you know, alcoholism. Her heart stopped, and she had her NDE, where she went to Soul Earth Exile 13, you know, and that already just doesn't sound like it's on the up and up, right? But Source said that it was it was fabricated. So what she was looking at was a fabricated timeline. That's what she was, not where she is here. That's what they're calling the experience. She was fabricated. That's what Source said. So now we know this was fabricated by the enemy. This was not on the up and up. This was in order to deceive. That was deception. That's what that was. So thank you very much. Also, too, she said that this was Tartaria as well. And Tartaria, wasn't that not the civilization before the mud floods? So it was an empire that was technologically advanced. Global civilization was intentionally erased from history. That's kind of what it says. Proponents claim mud floods destroyed the empire, which supposedly spanned from Central Asia to Siberia. Historically, Tartary was a European geographical term for Central Asia and Siberia. Okay, so it's interesting that she used that, right? It was Tartaria. So she's saying that Tartaria is Soul Earth Exile 13. But Source just got done saying that that was fabricated to deceive. So the question is Tartaria also fabricated to deceive? I don't know. I haven't looked into it. It seems plausible because if there is a pole shift, yeah, that could probably cause mud floods. Now, okay, here's the thing. We're cooking on something. We're going back to the water being stolen. Sophia's essence, feminine part of Source essence, an aspect of being stolen. I know how those Tartaria happened. I know how the mud floods happen now. So, because I saw my client, she was trying to destroy. It was on a ship that was made of wood, looking like giving Noah's Ark, girl. It's given, who are you truly, Noah? Right? We're going to go into that now. I'm going to share that with you guys on a different video. And to get away, because I saw them put chains and chastity belts on her to trap her, because she was representing the feminine part of Source. That's how massive it was. And she was blowing up that ship. And she had, when I scanned her, she had little pieces of wood in there from the battle. So now, if the feminine energy tried to get away, and she's water, and her water was trying to what? To take down this false fabricated earth. That would cause some mud. Everything is connected. This story, see, they gave us a story they wanted us to hear, where it blamed the woman, where she never actually expands past this. But Source is giving us the rest of the story, the correct part of the story, where she fought to get out of the entrapment and enslavement. She fought, and her fury is what caused the mud flood, because her waters were roaring and fighting the element of earth. Because remember, earth was created by the demiurge, the lesser God, not Source. Yeshua only came to tell the people that this is fake. If you read the Gospel of Thomas, which they took out of the Bible, he's literally trying to tell you that this ain't on the up and up. This ain't it. So instead of them telling that there was a great war, they started with Genesis, but they didn't tell you what happened before she spanked that butt is what happened before. That's what happened. Uh-oh. Frequencies. Barasambura kingara simbosha. Mirota sambura kungara hingara sambura tingara hambura tingara. Humara sande. Humara sakane simbora sata. They don't want me to say this. They'll even cause a freaking storm outside. And by the way, this storm is fake. I felt a massive surge of energy before I came on here when it started raining the first time. And the thunderbolts are fake. Zeus. She just mentioned Zeus. Guys, you don't think these people know who we are? You don't think they know who I am and the work I do? They know who you are. They know who we are. So you taking that lower position ain't going to help the matter. We got Zeus out here trying to fight me. We got the fake false thunder and lightning. These are fabricated frequencies. I know what a true source frequency feels like. It jolts the whole system. It's fabricated. It's false. Do you see how the Truman Show, how they would cue in the rain and to get him away from Antarctica, the ice wall? That's what's happening here right now, real time in this moment. Message, like this video, subscribe to the channel, please. That's what's happening. So the feminine energy did try to get away. And that's what caused this Tartaria, which is technically not in this. It feels like another dimension. As these big catastrophes happen, it shifts everything. We get dimensional travel that way. It shifts it. Much like what I was talking about as I was one of the souls that came down to help build some of the pyramids in ancient Gaza. We used to walk from one world into the next. It was all connected. Is what I'm saying. These things are worlds. This Tartaria was an actual world. How you have this earth here, this is a world, but we had worlds before. So when the Genesis happens in the Bible, they're not telling you all the worlds we had before. So they're giving you half of the story. Because the Bible acronym means basic instructions before leaving earth. That's why this channel is called Instructions for Humanity. These are not basic instructions. These are just the instructions. And it's really tied to our DNA instructions. That's the whole point of Instructions for Humanity. It's talking about what is encoded within the DNA. So the Bible only picks up when the fall of the feminine happened. The Bible picks up when the feminine has already been captured, beloved. This is deep. This is deep. That's what I'm saying. It is up to you and I to free the divine waters inside. Free it from trauma. Free it from pain. Free it from heartache. Free it from oppression. Free it from segregation. Free it from slavery, entrapment, ensnarement, quantum manipulation, and entanglement. Free it. That is when the true rapture will happen. Because you will be in alignment back with the first creation, because creators give birth to themselves. If you're hanging around rooms where things are being made and fashioned, that ain't it. So no, it's not okay to worship lesser gods. Okay? All right. There's so many comments here. I'm not even sure if I can get to them, but I do want to thank everyone that has commented here. So George Lopez says, I just closed my eyes, and when I opened them, it's like in like 5 seconds, I was completely awake in my bed. It was too real, and I really felt my body is still on the pod. Okay. Natalie says, anxiety attack after listening to those type of Pentecostal Holy Spirit worship, night songs beautiful, but so wrong. I thank Yeshua for the discernment. And confirmation from you now, Tahirah. Thank you very much. Okay. Divine feminine, universal intelligence. Yes. Present at creation. Yes. Within humanity. Yep. And guiding the soul back to truth. Absolutely. So the moment, if they don't want you to know about the feminine part of source, just like the churches, they never tell you the Holy Spirit is the feminine part of source. And then they call it a ghost. And how are you going to have God the Father, God the Holy Spirit, and then God the Son? When, baby, you got to have the masculine and the feminine, or baby, just the feminine energy, because we can give birth to ourselves. We give birth to masculine. That's how we balance it out. We give birth to that. So that's already a lie from the pit of hell, is that it's going to be God the Father, God the Holy Spirit, which is another male, and then a son. How you going to get birthed a son from two males unless you're gene slicing and manipulating and constructing stuff off planet, in pods and whatnot. I'm just saying. You were told to heal the feminine wound. Yes, thank you, Sister Gail. Yeah, that's where we are, guys. It's all about healing the feminine because this will bring us to the original creation. They are giving us the second creation. That's why we're stuck here, because we don't have the complete story. And in fact, these religions are purposely withholding the complete story because they're all in on it, every single last one of them. Source doesn't have a religion. Source is the creator of all things, not because it is saying I am the creator. It's because it is the vibration that literally allows everything to flow and to create. This is source. Oh, Keisha says Tyler sings water. Oh, water. Okay. Yep. Makes a lot of sense. All right. I'm still reading. Let me see. Austin said, I was thinking the other day, the 66 books are a very bare minimum. Yep. Everything is there, but not readily. You have to dig and let source guide you to all those other books, right? That are in the Bible, like the Apocrypha and like all of these, the book of Enoch and all of these things. I read that a long time ago. I probably need to read it again. It's been like 15, 20 years. It's been it was beginning of my journey. Oh, Keisha said there's 800 books missing. That's crazy. Well over 800 books. Yeah, Austin said it never made sense of why God would be father and not parent if mother didn't exist. It was a choice. Yeah, you cannot have a man without a woman. Like, it just will never happen. Like, it's not about being, whatever about the woman is this, but that's just what it is. I mean, it's common sense. And so in this day and age, you can't have a God the Holy Spirit, which is male, a God the Father, which is male, and then God the Son, that is male, and tell me that they are the Trinity, the 3 in 1. They're 3 in 1 because it's only one, because you only have one aspect. You don't even have the feminine. So maybe that's different aspects of the male, but it does not account for the Ruach, Ruach Kadosh, Holy Spirit, for Mama Wisdom, Sophia, as the Cosmic Bible. I was able to meet the aspect Mother Ethereal, which is my direct soul line from the Divine Feminine. So if you, and that's what's wrong with the world. I'm gonna leave it at this. What's wrong with the world is that they took away and they ensnared and enslaved the divine feminine so that they could create gravity, so that gravity can hold your butt in place so that you don't get free. But the truth is, once we come back and understand that the feminine has been enslaved and manipulated to be here, once we start to release the traumas and allow her waters to be free, meaning do not allow the imprints from the archons to override injury onto your divine source waters. Protect your source waters. Go to the water, commune with the water, drink good water, honor thy waters within. Honor mama. This is how we get free. If you honor your mother and father so your days will be long, how you gonna honor one and not honor the birth of the one that created you? This is what is wrong with humanity. Simply put, honor the divine waters within. I was born of the waters, by the waters. The dignified water is the... Oh, I got to get that for you guys. Hold on. We're going to celebrate Mama Waters right here. Hold on. Let me see if I can get it. Let me see. Oh no. Okay. All right. Hold on. I got to get this. Okay. I am reading a poem from the Great Expansion, a Cosmic Bible for the Ages. It's like on page 3, and it's called Mother of Tears. You were made of the water by the waters. The dignified water is the tears of suffering and joy, tears of birth and death, tears of wisdom and flesh. These are a mother's tears. They ask me, why do you cry, Mama? True spirit is a rainbow of emotions. No matter what situation we may find ourselves in, Mother God will always sing by releasing water. Mother God of the living waters. Everything we just spoke about was embodied within this poem. So this is Mother Source here, Mother God of the living waters. That's the Holy Spirit. The water is a vibrational technology. Okay? Saying you were made by the waters. Humanity, listen. You were made by the waters. You were made of the waters. Catch that. You were made of spirit consciousness. You were made of consciousness. You were made of feminine flow. You were made of the waters, by the waters. Who's Mama Source? Substance of life, the water. That's what we know it as, substance of life. We know it as water. In the other planets, the substance of life can look differently. The dignified water. So Mama is dignified. The dignified water is the tears of suffering and joy. She holds all things in form. Tears of birth and death. Tears of wisdom, Sophia, and flesh. The flesh is talking about them lower gods. That's what flesh is. It's a falling frequency or vibration. These are a mother's tears. True spirit is a rainbow of emotions. So she's saying, my true essence naturally is a rainbow of emotions. That's the real emotions. It's from water. So the emotions you get, that's trauma that is fusing with the waters, which is natural emotion. That's not real emotion. That's trauma bonding. That's how they're cycling it through our waters. That's why they needed to steal her. Because they needed a substance to be able to manipulate humanity. And if you notice in all of the archonic things, what do? They play on your human emotions. Even though you just passed away, they're still playing on human emotions. Because they know that this is how they can connect into your field and to control you. So she's saying, no matter what situation we may find ourselves in, Mother God will always sing by releasing water. So how do you cleanse out? How do you sing and purify? You have to release water. Emotions. Simply put, how do you free yourself from the archons? Release these emotions. Become balanced. Go through the eye of the needle. Collapse the duality. And go through the duality focal point, the eye of the needle, the dark void womb that leads you back to source. This is the way out of the matrix, beloved. That's the way. The way, the truth, and the life. That's it. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I love you. I love you. I love you. Love is the way. Forgiveness is the key. And truth is the light that will always, always guide us home. Be well, guys. Be well.